While he was given the he's in charge of so it's on the other side, you know, you know you're in charge. So even that responsibility is to be the same.
All right, grad students, welcome to your orientation. I hope your semester is going well and you're having fun so far. My name is Veronica Black. I'm the interim program coordinator for the Center for Teaching Excellence, which you are in. This is the Center for Teaching Excellence. This center is designed to help support faculty, but in that, it also trickles into grad students and staff and other members of our Highlands community. So I'm really happy to be offering this orientation for grad students. My MFA was at Parsons School of Design, where I focused on design and technology. And having these kind of events for grad students was really beneficial for my experience in my program. So I hope to have many more opportunities to have more grad students in this space, working together on different projects, working with faculty, working with staff, working on your projects. And I hope to get to know you and be at all of your awesome events and presentations. So today we have a little bit of a, this is kind of our outline of today's events. It's gonna go pretty quickly. We have people in Zoom world or Zoom verse, whatever they call it here. So thank you for participating. So basically we're just gonna go through these different scenarios. If you have questions, feel free to ask them. Or one of the things I like to do is, because we are going very quickly, I will pass out at each table a stack of stickies. So if you have any questions as we're kind of speeding through, please jot them down, and we'll find some time later on today where we can maybe answer some of the questions, concerns that you might have. Our first presenter today for you is Dr. Ruthy Watson. If you don't know her, she's amazing. She is just amazing. So she is going to present on some of Title IX and some of the other, just some other information that you might need dealing with HU Cares. Thank you. I was like, where are you? HU Cares. So I will end my spiel, let you take over, and I'll pass out the sticky.
All right.
Okay.
So thanks very much. I'm glad to be the first person on deck today, because that means I get to be done. So a lot of you guys are, you've been here before. You've been in Highlands in your undergrad. And so how many of you guys are actually going to be grad assistants? All right, so just not everybody. And how many of you guys are familiar with CARES? So you have sat through the presentation a couple times. You've been to the office a couple times. By the way, our office has moved. We are now in room 328 in the Student Union building instead of 306. We moved this summer. And for any of you that know me, moving is the story of my life, because I do it almost every 2 years. But anyway, so HU Cares is the Center for Advocacy, Resource, Education, and Support. Today, though, I'm going to give you a quick overview of CARES, but my key thing today, the key topic today that Veronica asked me to talk about is Title IX and clarity. And so this is basically the presentation that the dean has used, because she was the founder of CARES, which used to be the Campus Violence Prevention Program. So this was her baby, and now she has moved on to dean for a couple of years. I came in as director of CARES last year. And so basically the information remains the same when it comes to Title IX and Clery. You guys as graduate assistants and graduate teaching assistants are mandatory reporters. And so we'll get into that a little bit, but what I really want to do then is go through what our objective is. Basically to understand what it means to be a mandatory reporter, learn who and how to make a report, learn what to do, and ideally maybe go through a couple scenarios, but keep in mind that if you ever have a question about anything, if something goes down, you have a question you don't understand, you're confused, you're not sure, call CARES, okay? Because we can answer those questions. We are fully staffed, and we have two 24-hour crisis lines, actually 3. 2 of them are with my coordinators, and then I have one myself. So you can get in touch with us. We are 24/7. When you have spring break, we don't. When you have holidays, we don't. That means we answer the phone. But we are part of campus safety, which means that if something happens, campus police will usually get called first, and then they call us. But there may be times when something happens and an individual, the victim, will say, no, I don't want to go to the police. You can call CARES, and they will come to CARES. We are a confidential space on campus, which means that we don't have to tell anybody anything. We literally don't have to even tell the dean what happened, because usually the dean will find out. But we don't have to report it to anybody. We are that confidential on campus. We do collect information about who comes into the office, but that's all we do is we just collect the numbers. We don't have to tell anybody anything. Our service is completely student driven. So student comes to us, we talk with the student, we troubleshoot, we problem solve, but we ask the student how they want to proceed. And we work with the student to do that, because our goal is to make sure that anybody who is victimized or anybody who is a witness to any type of violence, we make sure that they are comfortable enough to move on with their education, but also comfortable enough to take the next step in whatever that action is. So that's what CARES. We are support, we are education, we are resources, we are advocates. We advocate for every single student on this campus, whether you are a victim of violence, whether you're a victim of discrimination, even if you have a question about something that is not right in your classroom with your professor, we advocate for you. So we are here, we got your back. So having said that, then let's move on and let's talk about Title IX. What Title IX is basically, it promotes equal opportunity, basically by saying that nobody should be subjected to discrimination on the basis of sex, gender, identity, religion, anything. Nobody should be subjected to that. And any school that receives federal assistance basically has got to do something about it if they find out about it. If there's an allegation of that, it is a Title IX. We have a Title IX officer who does an investigation. If they work with the dean, we find out what happens and they make a determination. But the law says that we have to do something about it if you feel like you've been discriminated. And that could be something, it could be anything. It could be a professor saying something that you think is inappropriate. Come and talk to us about it. We can help you kind of flesh that out too. We can always talk with the professors. We can always talk with the dean. We can see where that needs to go. But it could be if you're the victim of a sexual assault and all of a sudden you feel uncomfortable. Gender-based violence is another way that Title IX comes into effect. Because Title IX, again, says that anytime you feel uncomfortable and it impairs your ability to get an education, that's a Title IX complaint. So you have a couple ways that Title IX is applied, but basically anything that you feel might be a hostile environment is a Title IX offense. Clery basically is about campus safety. And it basically says that any university, again, that receives federal money in the form of student loans, right? Everybody gets student loans. Any university, any school, any public institution that receives federal money has to disclose their safety statistics, their safety data. So you want to know how many sexual assaults have occurred on our campus? we have an obligation to report that. So we issue a Clery report. Clery report comes out from campus police every year, annually. It's on the website, you can get that, it's public knowledge. But basically, Clery says that anything that happens has to be reported so that you know. That way you can make an informed choice. CARES provides, again, we provide basic data, basic numbers, but for the most part, anything that happens, campus police usually knows about it anyway. So campus police issues a report, we provide them with what we know, we work with the dean, and we all together make sure that we have the exact information, that all of our information is correct and ready to go when that report is issued. And that report usually is issued in the fall. Usually they start collecting the data, I would say probably about October, we get the directive to start pulling that information together, and that report usually is issued by campus police around November. So that's Clery. And Clery also too applies not only on campus, but now it applies to like the surrounding streets, the surrounding areas. So as far as the campus extends out, there's those perimeter streets and areas. Clery also applies to that. So that information will also be indicated on the Clery report. All right, so as graduate teaching assistants and graduate assistants, you are a mandatory reporter. Yay. For Title IX and for Clery, there are these two categories where certain individuals are in both of those categories as GAs and teaching GTAs. You guys fall under the Title IX responsible employee. Excuse me. So any employee who has the authority to take action to redress sexual violence who has been given the duty to report to appropriate school officials basically about incidents of sexual violence or other misconduct has that responsibility to report. So when you have a conversation with a student, let's say a student comes to you and says, I need to talk to you, something happened. First thing you need to tell them is, look, okay, thank you for coming to me, but I am a mandatory reporter, which means any type of abuse, any type of violence, you have to report it when you find out about it. You have to. And you can do that. You go to the dean, you go to campus police. If a person comes to you and says, well, something happened, and I really don't want to tell the police. Okay, but you need to tell them. You tell me, I have to tell. Now, if they're adamant about that and they just, please call CARES. Call us. We will talk with that student, because we don't have to tell them. We don't have to tell anybody. But again, we will work with that student. We will work with that individual to make sure that we get them to the point where they feel comfortable to take that next step and report it if they want to. Because it's not easy being a victim of anything, right? We've all been victims of something. And that's my philosophy. Because like it or not, at your age, 20, 30 something, we've all been victimized. We don't think about it that way. Some of the things that we go through, we don't think about it that way, and it may not be violence, but it may be something else. It may be systematic oppression. It may be systematic racism. It may be systematic genderism, ageism. We've all been victimized in some way, shape, or form, not as severe, not as intense, but we have. And so when we talk about being a victim and reporting it to somebody, a lot of times there's that apprehension, right? You don't want to do it. There's that fear that they're not going to believe you. There's that fear that they're going to call you weak. There's that fear that you're just making it up, right? So when it comes to that, keep in mind that anybody that comes to you may not be ready to take it to the next level of calling the police. They may not be ready to do that, but they probably are ready to talk about it because they came to you. So you tell them, look, we can call CARES. Would you like me to call CARES? If they want to, if they need you to walk them over to CARES. If not, call us, we will come to you. But we are ready to help a student, It could be even a colleague. It could be another graduate student. It could be a faculty person. It can be anybody that feels like they need to talk about something that they've experienced or witnessed. First thing out of your mouth, I'm a mandatory reporter, so I have to tell somebody. And then after that, you figure out where to go. You process where to go. But mandatory reporters then are the dean, campus police, HR, the Title IX coordinator, the faculty, coaches, advisors, residence hall advisors, resident assistants, graduate teaching assistants, even people that work in the offices, admin assistants, any of those, they're all responsible employees. First thing out of your mouth, I'm a mandatory reporter. Not to say that that's something, again, that they should be afraid of, but just so that they know if that they're about to tell you is that serious, that you have a responsibility, you have a duty to tell somebody. Keep in mind too that if you have a question about it, call us, because we can tell you. We can give you a yes or a no. So Clery Act, when we talk about who is responsible, who is a mandatory reporter when it comes to Clery information, again, dean of students, campus police, resident assistants in the residence halls, coaches, advisors, faculty clubs or organization advisors. So if you are in a club, I don't know why I have a frog in my throat this morning. Sorry about that. It's Friday the 13th, and there was a full moon last night. But anyway, so you see that there are, again, just about really the same people. The only people who are not responsible, who are not mandatory, or who are not mandated to report Clery Act information are your HR people, your Title IX people. But for the most part, and even so too, you guys, graduate teaching assistants, you're not responsible to report Clery Act information. You're not responsible for that because ideally you report it to the people who are responsible. So keep that in mind. And Clery, again, is just about making sure that when you are looking for a place to go for your education, you know how safe the campus is. That really is the bottom line. All right, so who is not required to report? Any type of professional counselor, right? A therapist, a social worker, licensed clinical social worker, psychologist, doctors, student health centers, anybody, student health, counseling centers, faculty who might be serving as a counselor, faculty who may be serving as a supervisor of a graduate assistant or practicum student, anybody like that. And when I say faculty serving as supervisor, it would be psychology, practicum students, licensed clinical social worker, those types of individuals who serve in supervisory capacities. They are not necessarily, or they are considered privileged and are exempt from reporting. Confidential is anybody who is a victim advocate, who is in a victim advocacy capacity that provides assistance to survivors. Again, we are, and that would be HU Care. See, we're the only ones. We are the only ones. So we are like that. But it's a big responsibility because we are in the state of New Mexico given that status because of the work that we do as confidential providers of services to survivors. And as survivors, again, of sexual assault, survivors of any type of violence, we are confidential. So we're exempt from reporting information, especially identifiable information. So name, gender, we don't have to report that. But again, that really gives us that designation and that ability to have students come to us and know that we are not going to divulge anything, that we are not going to push them, we're not going to press them, but they can come and feel safe with us as long as they need to. And if that means they need to come see us every week, they can come see us every week, they can come see us every day, right, Adrian? They can come see us 2-3 times a day. Students, CARES is here for that reason. CARES is here just for that. And a lot of that then really kind of boils over into the definition of what we do in our policy statement, right? So we provide a web of collaborative services and support to students who are victims or survivors of domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, stalking, and suicide. Suicide witnessing, but we engage in suicide prevention, we engage in education, we engage in advocacy, we engage in resources, and we provide all of those services for students here. We are also a referral source for individuals in the community. So somebody comes to us and they don't know where to go in the community, they can come into the CARES office and we can give them that information. We have a wide range of community partners and statewide partners that we're able to network with and connect with at a moment's notice for making sure that we can help our students or anybody in the community. Because one of the things that we want to do at the university as a whole is be a community partner, a vibrant community partner. And so CARES has always been that from day one, because again of the nature of the work that we do, but also making sure that we are able to be a comprehensive service organization on campus and in the city of Las Vegas, but also in the state, because we do have a coordinator, Latasha Burbank, who many of you may know. Latasha is our coordinator for Rio Rancho, Albuquerque, Farmington, and Santa Fe. She is housed in Rio Rancho, but she has been with CARES again since its inception when it was Campus Violence Prevention Program. So we provide a whole lot of that. We do have our web link is nmhu.edu/cares now, not prevention, so /cares. So we're like moving out of the world. We got our own web page. But basically, you can contact us and we're able to help you in anything that you need as far as it goes to Title IX. Sometimes people say, well, I think it's Title IX, but I'm not sure. Or I want to do a Title IX, but I'm not sure. We can help you with that. We can help you with just about everything. And if we can't help you, we know who can. All right, so how to report. If a student comes to you and again says, I need to talk to you, and they are visibly upset, distressed, anxious, number one, that's what we specialize in. But again, first thing you want to do is tell them that you have an obligation to report and that they can be, you can provide that confidentiality, but in doing so, they need to come to us. They need to come to the organization that can definitely help them with that. And again, once they tell you that, if they decide to stop where they are and say, well, yeah, I think I want to go talk to CARES, I think I want to go talk to somebody else, no problem at all. So how does it go? You make the report, the mandatory reporter makes that report, and then that information goes to the dean, or it goes to campus police, or it goes to HR, it goes to whoever that next step is, because you may have an incident between, if it's a student and a faculty member, student and a graduate teaching assistant, that would go to HR. And then they make that determination, okay, time to do an investigation. And then once the investigation is done, it goes back to the dean, the appropriate dean, for a resolution, for an outcome. And so once once all of those processes are done, then that information is sent out. Everybody is notified. Okay, thank you. Everybody's notified about the outcome. And see, I can talk for like hours. She just told me I have 5 minutes left, so now I gotta speed it up. So, next steps. Some things to consider when responding to a student in crisis. What are those some things? How to support a survivor, right? Couple things. Show empathy, right? Show empathy. Don't listen non-judgmentally, right? If somebody tells you their story and as outrageous and as unnerving and as horrific, it might sound to you or it may be to you, you need to keep it together. You need to keep it together for that person, but at the same time, show some empathy, right? Show that you're listening, show that you care. Be very careful about touching people because you may not be able to do that. You don't want to violate that space. You always want to ask, is it okay if I touch you? Is it okay? Can I give you a hug? They may not want that, and that's okay, but just believe them, listen, respect the space, respect the person, inform them, give them an idea, give them information about what their options are. Give them choices, reassure them that everything is going to be okay. That's the hardest thing for a victim. At anytime somebody's reporting, they will show that they are distressed, upset. Reassure them it's going to be okay. Reassure them that we do have services, that there's somebody that can help them. And we have a new slogan at CARES. You guys will see it. When all hope is lost, CARES is there. Remember that. HU CARES. Follow up afterwards, and you can follow up with us. We can only tell you certain things because of privacy, but we will be able to say, hey, you know what, that person is doing okay. You know, they were given information. Sometimes it may be that we need to contact a professor. We may contact you and say that person needs a little extra time. Remember that, again, everything that you do, when you engage with a student, guys, and you get this type of situation, privacy, 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 confidentiality. You do not disclose to anybody else. And if you have questions about that, call us. If you have questions about that, you can talk to your faculty advisor, but you do not, once a student or once somebody comes to you, you do not go talking it around campus. You don't do that. Ultimately, self-care, you will be a secondary or exposed to secondary trauma once you start hearing about people's stories. Take care of yourself, okay? You may need to, after you hear a story like this, after you hear a report, you may need to go out and decompress. Do that. Because if you don't do that, you will suffer your own type of negative impact on your ability to continue as a student and continue to do your job. Always, always, always take care of yourself. If you need help with that, let me know, let CARES know. We have a couple things. Mindfulness Monday. We're doing a lot of great things about how to be in touch with your mind and body, how to protect your mental health, your emotional health, your physical health. We're also doing Walkabout Wednesdays. Come take a walk with us, get some fresh air. We're doing TED Talk Tuesdays. We're doing some stuff on the weekends called Sister Circles, barbershop chats, all kinds of things where we have conversations about everything under the sun, but it's also about taking care of yourself. So, any questions? So I left some of our small trifold brochures over here. We handed out some new little flyers that we did that tell you about some of the things that we do. Stop by our office. We are in room 328, and I'll leave my cards too over here with Veronica.
Yes,
we are in room 328 in the sub. We are available again 24/7. We have 3 crisis numbers, and the crisis numbers are on the back of the little trifold brochures, but I'll blurt them out to you right now. Get ready to write this down. Our crisis number one is 505-429-4505. That's crisis number 1. That's here. Crisis number 2, 505-429-0176. That's my number directly, and these are all after hours. Crisis number 3, 505-795-3665. All of those are 24/7. Our office number is 505 right here on campus, 505-454-3529. So come see us, stop by, have a good year, have a good semester. And again, when all hope is lost, CARES is there.
Aw. All right. Okay. Thank you so much, Dr.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Okay, so I hope, is everybody comfortable now that we've kind of spread out some chairs and stuff. If you need to rearrange, feel free to do so. I'm going to pull up our next exciting thing. Let's see. So the next thing we're going to be going over is FERPA training. So this is some training taken from the offices of the registrar, and this is the training that was done during the faculty development at the beginning of the semester. So it's a video. We're just going to play it through until the sort of questionnaire parts, because we only have 30 minutes. So, all of this information will be available on the CTE website in about 2 weeks. You'll get an email, and so if you have any further questions, then I'll contact you if you have any questions on FERPA as well. So, that being said, computer going. Make sure our fine people can see our I'm going to start by passing out some chocolate and some candy. You get passed down because this can, it's one of those fun videos. So let me just make sure that we are sharing. I can do that. Let's get started. If you do, write them on the stickies. All right. Focus. Go, you could go. That was so sweet. No. Come on, you go. Suspense is killing me. You're now good. It wasn't as painful as it could have been, but it's really important information. Inka Crispin, the lady who was speaking, is the interim person overseeing FERPA and registrars. If you don't know where the registrar's office is, in the Felix Martinez building. It's the big sort of open offices to your left. I wrote her email down on the whiteboard up here. So if you have any questions, concerns, need some follow-up, things you didn't quite understand, she's an excellent resource and someone you can go and speak to. And everyone in her office can probably answer your questions as well.
It applies to spouses as well.
Yes.
So if your spouse calls and or someone's spouse calls, you can't give them information.
Oh, I didn't know that, but that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so everyone should have received some stickies, about 4 of them. Did anyone not? Okay. So you should have received about 4 stickies that I set in front of you. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to kind of get up, move around a little. I'm going to create some magic really quickly. I'm going to get some coffee going. I also have some stuff for some tea. And I will bring out some more carbs and sugar in just a second. Yes, I know. Friday, carbs and sugar. It's the best. So what we're going to do, though, for the next 15 minutes is just kind of get up, move around a little, and kind of meet your neighbor. Around the room, you'll find some Post-its. Take a couple of minutes while the coffee is brewing. Get up, walk over to the Post-its that are on the wall. And with the stickies that I gave you, write your responses. And then we're going to kind of talk about it. It's going to be fun. I promise. Any questions about this fun little get up, move around activity? So we have 2 Post-its back there, 2 over here. Fill them out, take a sticky, pop it on there. If you need a pen, there is some pens over there in this, on the coffee table right there. If you have any questions about any of the subjects that we've already gone over, Title IX, FERPA, and you've written them on a sticky because you have a question, feel free to come on up and give them to me. And at the end of this today, we'll try to tackle some of those questions. So I'll accept those questions. But I want your responses on these Post-its. You have 4 stickies that I gave you. So arise, get up, get up, get up, and move around the place. And then I will give you. All right. That's fine. Oh, dear
I was like, is it allergies?
It's like there's right.
What do you have this semester? It's a gift.
Also, if you didn't get a chance to sign in, at the front there is 2 computers. Please sign in if you haven't done that.
I'm just kind of thin Let's see.
Why did you write it in there?
Oh, yeah.
Who's my favorite teacher? Like any
So there's some here.
No, he's here.
I believe that. Really sad.
I'm like debating between two art teachers.
All right, there are also cups and some tea. Sadly, I don't have cream because they won't let me have a mini fridge. So I have anger working through it. I am.
I know her, but she's gonna come.
I'm gonna put the messy jellies. I totally want to. You can do this. So please help yourself.
I'm so excited.
Right. Yeah. I think I still everybody's told me that that's me too. Yeah. Did you get to meet with your? Of course. I knew that there was like I want something. Yeah. Yes, thank you. Thank you. And any other questions, concerns? Yes, excellent. Thank you. Excellent. Thank you. It's like I can't do that. All right. These good things. Oh, and DJ. Yeah. Ian, excellent. Exactly. And then you can
the worst possible thing that can happen.
I think you got a little coffee out of my middle name. I mean, this is all right. Interesting situation in the graduate teaching. Interesting deal. How many cover on this program?
This will be my last year.
Oh, yeah. By all means, we've got plenty of time. Oh, I was close, 30. You interrupted it.
Under hospital.
I'm in the natural
I think other people have been doing that.
We don't need yours?
I will get the one out of
my second year.
Hopefully,
It makes me watch the process.
she doesn't even know this is her teacher.
Don't worry about it. But I'm going to finance and accounting, so I'm going to.
I would have been insane.
Read.
She's on for makeup. She's considered so.
Originally, I was going to do finance and accounting was the ones that are
So what do you should take it
I would actually want to hear.
So we teach.
Just for a while.
If I can get you here. Joe.
I put something that's not
There's not. Okay. Okay. I just think that I just know that you're better technician and that I automatically are in the group. I noticed that last time. Okay. I'm gonna take that one out. On my own, I'm gonna use my RGIS
That's the thing about plan.
and just come in 3:30 and just work hard and shred it out and get that up to speed. See what he thinks. That's what they're saying.
Now it's not it's heavily
Medium arts, you guys are
Travelers who are making meetings and like
There's a spoon in the coffee, and I usually do like coffee. Yeah, thank you. Yes. Yes, roll in. Say it again. It's some local opinion coffee that I was given as a gift. I don't know. But it was free, and it works for me. But I don't know. I am going to eat it's Friday. What? Yes. I mean, I meant to really
I'm so tired of you. Yeah. I was sitting in the desert and I was working. And I got it.
If you need someone to. Yeah. This jelly.
All right, I think everybody needs to eat at least one more of those donuts so that I don't have to take them home.
I mean, is that a challenge?
It's a challenge.
I can't imagine you eating.
I used to work in a bakery and I used to make donuts. Once you make donuts, you can never eat. It's the weirdest thing. But we never made donuts, so I can eat donut holes without issue. But actual donuts without the hole, I really struggle. It's the weirdest mind thing. Weirdest.
I just saw your face.
Huh?
I just saw your face.
Oh, it's
like
it's goofy, right?
It is. I like it. It's like it stands out.
For real?
Stand out a lot compared to like all the colorful ones.
Oh my god.
Yours is like. Yours is definitely gonna stand out.
Okay, I'm excited. I haven't seen it with the crowd and everything.
Oh yeah, they grabbed it. Yeah.
Yeah, I knew David did it, so I need to go check it out. All right.
We took it already.
We still have like a couple more minutes before we're gonna get back into the nitty-gritty of things. But I just kind of wanted to digest some of these really great responses. I think this is kind of really awesome. You can really tell that you're in grad school right now and enjoying the trials and tribulations of grad school. When I was in grad school, the sort of motto of my group was like, if you're sleeping, you're doing grad school wrong. You know? So if you're sleeping, we need to talk. But I noticed that everyone, it's like, the most exciting thing is just being done. So I'm kind of curious, like, what's going to happen after you're done? Started thinking about that. That'll keep you up at night. So it'll be fun. Just sleep. That's what you're hoping for? Well, that's it. When you're done with grad, you can sleep. That is so totally true. People went to some really cool places for their vacation. Really awesome. Where? Fly fishing. Look at that.
I did.
Where did you go?
Up to Rio de Pueblo.
Where is that? I don't know.
It's right over the mountain. It's right over. It's on the west side of the mountain.
Oh.
On the north side. I guess the west side.
That's awesome.
It's not very far away.
I used to go fly fishing with my dad in Montana, and there was a movie with Brad Pitt, like back in like the 90s. So for all you youngins,
River runs.
yes. And I remember thinking how cool that was, but like there was always like old guys, never Brad Pitt fly fishing when I was there, and I was like, what? I've been lied to by media. I learned it at a young age. All right. I can't really see behind there, but what are some of the good ones that stood out to you, Terrence?
I put Mike Petrones.
Say it again.
Mike Petrones, his name's on there a couple times.
Oh, really? So standout educator. All right. That's cool. Way to go, Mike.
Bob Ross on that.
Bob Ross. He is part of there is this thing, like him and Steve Irving and Mr. Rogers as like the holy trinity of like millennials. I can understand that. And favorite summer. Can I, oh wait, songs of the summer. What are some highlights? Kid Cutie, really? He's still producing? No. Five fingers. Old Town Road. Sounds like. Oh, anything by Vampire Weekend. Yes. Okay, you win. Anything by Queen. You're just saying that because the movie is an Oscar winner. Awesome. Thank you for participating. It's always a lot of fun. Thank you for eating the donuts. There are more on the plate. So, you know, sugar up.
What's with Flavor-Right? Flavor-Right?
Flavor-Right. Oh, it totally spells flavor. You know, spell check. Doesn't exist on Post-it. I did it on all of them. I did not. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness gracious. So I did not consume any coffee before I started writing
By
these.
the way, I thought this was actually a term that.
It's a CTE term. It's a CTE term. The Center for Teaching Excellence term. Get used to it. It's going to be everywhere now. OMG. OMG.
When I was looking at the orientation.
I know. Well done. You all passed.
When I was looking at the flavor of vacation, I thought it was like your favorite flavor of vaccination. What is that?
Oh my god. Oh my word. You know what? I would have gone all day had nobody pointed that out.
I thought it was on purpose.
Yeah, I thought it was.
It is on purpose. It totally is on purpose. Totally on purpose.
Anybody could
Play
have
on
that.
words, you know. Because I got my master's, so.
But obviously not in spelling.
Not in spelling. No, not at all. My partner is an English major, and I rely on him a lot. Clearly. I married him for his grammar.
Good to know.
Don't tell him I said that. Okay. Oh wow. I apologize, but you know, keeps it lively. Okay. So, I think we are back and ready to go. Next up is we have Dr. Ian Williamson here, who's going to speak to you on the Office of Graduate Studies, contracts, issue, just being a grad student here at Highlands. So, okay. Let me turn off the music. No, okay. Awesome.
Hey everyone. So I'm Ian Williamson, and I'm actually originally from psychology. I got my degree in social psychology back in 2004 now. So I guess that was 15 years ago. I got my PhD at University of Minnesota, which is UMN rather than UNM. And so it was confusing, actually. That happened a lot when I was first confused. But my dissertation was on forgiveness. I actually skipped over the master's. You can go directly into the doctorate, and I did. But I did take 7 years in my doctorate. So I went from 1997 to 2004, and I've been here from 2004 till a couple years ago. I went into administration. I'm like the guy that I remember. You see, like, hopefully you'll see me like once or twice your entire time here. I'm like the assistant principal, you know, like that, and hopefully you don't see me anymore because then it's usually maybe about discipline or something like that, right? So I do a lot of all of the back end work that has to happen bureaucratically, basically, to get you guys through graduation. And some of the things that we handle is we handle admissions, we handle substitutions, we handle the terminal documents, we handle all of that kind of stuff, and we handle contracts. And so those are sort of some of the bigger functions of our office. Our office is located in Sinninger Hall, in the second floor of Sinninger Hall. Okay. Does anyone have any questions at this point? No, okay. So I'd like to just talk to you guys briefly about graduate contracts and a little bit also about being a graduate student, and then I'll open it up for questions after, and you guys can ask whatever you need to ask if you need to ask anything. So basically, contracts, I'll just start with contracts, just the boilerplate stuff. You're all on contracts. The contracts are typically from 10 to 20 hours. So there's half-time assistantships and full-time assistantships. You have 10-hour assistantships, 15-hour and 20, depending on how departments do. Some departments almost do exclusively full-time assistantships for 20 hours. Other departments cut them up more for half-time and part-time assistantships. The full-time assistantships pay for most of the time, 9 credit hours of your tuition, and the half-time and 3/4 time assistantships pay 6 hours of your tuition as well. So assistantships are a little bit more choice, a little bit more premier than work studies because they also pay for your tuition as well, right? So they're kind of the best working deal that you can get as a student as a graduate student on campus. Okay. So the other thing we do handle sometimes is work study contracts are handled through HR, and there's also those scholarships. So some people apply for graduate scholarships as well, and they're blended. So they have a little bit of scholarship money and a little bit of assistantship money. So contracts always have to go through the departments. You need to go to your chair to ask for your contract, or go through your advisor who then asks the chair for the contract. Then those contracts come up to us. We just look at how many of those assistantships that can be doled out to each department, each program. We further that on and to HR, and HR is where you sign the contracts. So some of the contracts this year were given to us late, and if we receive them late, like 3 or 4 weeks, they would have to prorate the amounts based on the fact that they were a little bit late. So I'm trying to think of anything else I need to tell you about contracts. You all signed your contracts because you're here, right? The contracts, I'm new, by the way, to the role. So I just inherited this role about a month ago. And so we came in and we just had to like rifle through a lot of things quickly. So one of the big rules about signing contracts is that if we're contracting people newly, we have to get W-9s on file within 3 days as well. And so the reason we have to date the contract just appropriately is because you have to sign the W-9 also within that time frame. In the spring, that issue doesn't come up as much because most people aren't new to the contracts. Okay. So you will do the same if you are on contract again next semester. We'll try to get those contracts sorted out a little bit earlier this time. We'll try to get them sorted out about a month early. We'll have you sign them in HR again, but there's probably less onboarding paperwork that you'll have to do. You just have to sign the contract for semester. So any questions about just the bureaucracy of the contracts? Okay. So moving on to being under contract. I think what we see the most, what I saw the most in psychology, and what we saw a lot in psychology, was that there's sometimes what happens between the graduate students and their faculty member is a little bit of a disconnect between expectations and communication and what they're doing. So the biggest thing I would recommend to all graduate students who are on contract is remember it's a choice contract. That is that not everyone has them, and they're unusually good deals for you at Highlands. Is to maintain connection with your advisor, the one who supervises the supervisor. And be proactive about asking them what they want. Because a lot of times you might feel that you're not getting as much oversight as you would like or as you would expect. But keep in mind too that a lot of times the faculty are extremely busy, right? So they're teaching 4 classes, they're trying to do research. Half of you may be doing research. Actually, I kind of want to get a sense of that. How many are you doing teaching versus research? So how many are doing teaching contracts, largely helping with teaching? And how many are largely helping with research? So actually a little bit more. Can you guys raise your hands higher? How many are teaching? And how many are research? How many are other things? What are other things? What other things?
Like some
Administrative work.
help our department chair to input some data.
Okay.
Go forward.
Okay. Who else?
Spreadsheet.
Spreadsheet maintenance.
Taking care of the lab.
Taking care of labs. Okay. Right. So that's just like operational or like handling labs. Cool. So most of you guys are working with teaching, and of course there's like a wide range of teaching duties. What are some of the teaching duties you guys are having to take care of?
Tutoring.
What's that?
Grading.
Grading. Okay.
Labs.
Grading papers,
Setting up
grading,
labs.
multiple choice,
Labs.
labs, running labs, setting up labs, running discussion sections. Yeah.
Tutoring students and being in class.
What's that?
Tutoring students and being physically in the class to see where students are struggling so you can learn
Tutoring.
them.
How many of you guys are doing test construction, actually selecting items for the test? A little bit of that. So this is of course a big opportunity for all of you guys to learn all of those skills, because if you are going on, how many of you are planning on going on and being faculty members? Perhaps a few of you. Okay. So that's the kind of stuff you're going to have to do, or you're going to have to supervise as well as faculty members, because sometimes inevitably you don't have a graduate assistant to do all of those duties, and so you have to do some of those yourself. So anyway, all of those different activities are super valuable and badly needed, and so we're very thankful for your support in all of those roles, and it's also a really great opportunity to learn. One of the things that we did in Psych 101 is we had discussion sections where there were 5 people on the 101, because 101's affair, there's many sections. And so there's one big lecture class, but then there's 5 graduate students who lead the discussion sections mostly on Fridays. And one of the things that was helpful was setting up a group with that group and having a person to oversee or facilitate or support the learning of what you were going to talk about in those discussion sections. And I think one of the things that you have to look at is one, how are you going to make sure you know the content, and are you guys together on the same page for the content? But then the other is, are you prepared to lead active groups? Can you lead active discussions and get people involved? And a lot of times, for many of you, that might be your first time. For me, when I was in graduate school, that was my first time. It's just like walking around, going to the different groups, asking them questions, getting used to doing that, because I was a little bit shy. And so going around to those was something that it took me a lot of effort, and it took me a lot of time to get comfortable doing that. But then that was my favorite part, was to solicit the feedback from the students and to learn from the students as well. So these are some of the things you guys are doing. Think about when you're under contract of moving to the next level, where are you going with this? How can what you're doing the work you're doing here let you move to the next level in your career. How many of you are thinking there's often two routes in graduate school from master's, right? You can either go on to career directly with your master's level degree, or you're thinking about going to the terminal degree level. How many of you are planning on going to get a terminal degree after your master's? What's that? How many of you are wanting to go immediately into the profession after? I'm curious about your job.
It is.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You don't know? Well, both of those are totally valid, and in fact, in my experience, about half of the folks who get master's degrees go right into career, and about half go into look for terminal degrees after doing that. So those are, that's one of the things. It's a big choice point after you get your degree here to choose between those two. So anyway, that's all I have actually. And I don't know if you guys have any questions about contracts or the office.
I do.
Yeah.
I just happened to know because my sister used to be a TA and TA in here. And even though we were working like 20 hours a week, but she was getting paid like $1,000 more than I was during the semester. What is
Yeah.
that?
Well, I don't know why, but there are different rates. So there are different rates in different disciplines.
Mhm.
So GAs get different pay depending on if they're working in research labs in the sciences versus they're doing teaching work in English. And so that was set up before I came here. It's something I walked into, but the rates range from about, they range about 2,000 to 3,000 depending on those different areas.
Yeah, I can chime in on that because I wasn't here either, but at some point they made a thorough assessment of how much TAs were making all over the world in different disciplines.
Mm-hmm.
And turned out that chemist TAs, there was a big demand for chemist TAs and they were making more money, and TAs in the sciences were making a little less than in the other sciences like biology and natural management were making a little less. And although TAs were making less, so at some point it was 3,500 for most TAs, 5,000 for the biology, natural management, and 6,000 for chemistry. And that was a long time ago. Now chemists now are making like $25,000 for TAs, so we're still at 6. Last year we raised the 35 to 4,000. Now, to my knowledge, the 3 levels are 4,000 for most people, 5,000 for natural management and biology and geology, and 6,000 for chemistry. And we're struggling to get those in the same budget. By lowering the high, but raising the low.
Okay.
Yeah, so the minimum for for next semester from now on is for a full is 4,000.
Or what process decides how much each program gets budgeted with for these contracts?
Well, most of this is similar to what Jesus is saying. So these decisions essentially were reached, and now it's just a status quo situation where decisions aren't happening around. It's just this is what the allocations were. That being said, I would imagine at some point maybe some of the deans will reopen that discussion, and some of the chairs will reopen that discussion because they have interest in making sure it's fair and equitable. And I think that not all programs think it is. And so it's not a closed discussion, but currently it's operating on a status quo level. Yeah.
That was our
Right. The other thing, I mean, the biggest thing, guys, is like when you're under assistantship contracts is you just don't get in trouble, right? I mean, there's like the ways that you can get in trouble, right? You're either not communicating with your supervisor. The things we've always seen for either under contract or not under contract that is the disciplinary stuff is not getting along or working well with your supervisor, not being very clear about expectations with that person, plagiarism, sleeping with your students. These are the things that get people to lose their contracts or to be kicked out of the program. So if you stay on the right track, you should be fine. All right.
Sorry, we have a rogue B. Dr. Williamson, are you still doing the administration of the scholarships and grants for research that come through as well as what you're taking on with the graduate?
Yeah.
Hope they give you a
So Catherine Brooks Williams is the new graduate coordinator as well. And again, she's in Sininger Hall 211. So she's your first point of contact really for the graduate, all of the stuff you need to do. But if there's a thesis or a terminal document, I'll be reading that before you graduate. I read that after the committee and the chair reads that. So I'm the last signatory on the terminal documents.
Is being under contract with an assistantship technically a career that we could like put on CV?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. You could put that.
I have, and I will. It's often the work, especially with teaching, and especially if you're discussion leading, once you start to move to like, not the behind the scenes, but more front stage work, like section leading and even leading the classroom, because we do sometimes hire graduate assistants to teach an intro level course, although it's infrequent, but we do it. I know we do it, for instance, in English.
And business.
And what?
Business.
Business, yeah. That definitely, and then research as well. But they're also really going to want to look at your products. And again, so the assistantship, you want to always be thinking about moving ahead. So it is like you might meet the requirements of the assistantship, but if you do a little more, you also have a conference presentation, or you also have a publication, even if you're a 4th or 5th author. Well, that's a big deal for any person applying to PhD to have any publication on their record. So it's often like use the assistantship to sort of to kind of get with your supervisor and try to really get motivated and move even beyond the duties you have to perform. Because if you're just performing the duties of data analysis as required by the contract, that doesn't necessarily justify authorship. You have to go above and beyond to justify authorship. So if you're thinking about career, think about doing a little bit more than what's required in the assistantship. Would you agree with that? Yeah. Sure. Why not? Do you have anything more to add on this part?
I mean, I just agree with that. List on your CV, list what your position was, because some of you may have different kinds of positions over the course of your time at Highlands. So if you spend, some time in the writing center and you spend some time on a teaching class, list those as two different kinds of things. If you're working in a lab for one of your things, but then you're also a discussion leader in a class, you can list those. And I still have things that I did as part of my GAs in my grad school on my CV because they're relevant. They show information about the experiences that I've had. So.
Well, thank you. Appreciate your time.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Williamson.
Yeah.
All right. We are rolling. This is awesome. So we had a rogue bee situation. I'm glad we all survived. It looks like the bees survived as well. They're very precious and we don't want to scare them. They're very important. So what we're gonna do since I also want to take a quick moment and introduce the folks in the room. We have Dr. Peter Buchanan from the English department and Dr. Jesus Rivas, sorry, from biology. and April Kent from the library. These are all experts on their individual areas, if you have any questions, concerns, please use them. They are great resources to have. I'm going to try and reformat the Zoom really quickly. And April, if you are ready, we have you coming in next. Yeah. Okay. So give me just 5 seconds to get the Zoom reallocated because Zoom is a thing.
Zoom is a thing.
Zoom is such a thing. All right.
Everything's been really slow today. We've noticed that in the library, and it's been, I would say, region-wide. I'm not sure how widespread, but not just our systems.
Yeah, I was wondering what was kind of going on. There was like weird.
Yeah. I mean, well, big extra slow today.
All right. Let me grab my.
All right, this time I have to hand out.
Give me a second. Nobody wants to work on that.
No, and take our computer system. So take one, please, pass it down. Take one, please, pass it down. Okay. So here, I think I was just that we're coming that way, but here we go, and.
This is maybe quite cute to teachers. You can do European Italian coffee. That's what happened to me.
Might have some extras.
It's printing.
Have another one come
Yeah,
down.
I just thought it was like one of my friends.
I didn't get it, which is weird.
Yeah. Here we go. Now.
Mad attitude. Yeah, it's all frozen.
It's the mobile network. I think it's actually internet.
Okay.
Because we've been having some streaming videos, we've also been finding it